It's time for one of my Iroquorian stories. So let's just tap into some real life things before I engage into these storylines. During the years in which I lived in Mount Morris, New York, with no running water, no electricity, no heat, on the brink of starvation, and I must say, and I've said it multiple times, if it was not for my own mother, I would have died in that house of starvation. Because $192 in food stamps, after being denied for food stamps, well, let's just say it doesn't cut it. Especially after you've gone through the stages of starvation. Your body is on constant, even to this day, my body is constantly calling for food. Okay? But during those days, there was a moment in time where I feel like I did die. And it was like my blood just seeped out of my body in a spiritual mode. And once it hit the ground, it was almost like spiritually, it was analyzed. And then I was brought back up. And then, almost like I already knew how to enter the house, I entered the house. The house that Hiawatha once built. And I followed all the rules. And I remember going all these places spiritually, not physically, but spiritually. And every place that I went, they threw code at me and I just ran the code. And I saw them cry, and I cried a million tears in the process. So today, when I fall asleep, I either go through the house, I'm constantly going back to the house, or I go back to my house on River Road. And when I wake up, I've either been in Hiawatha's house or the house on River Road, which was my home before Patty the postal worker consumed our world. I don't know how these wenches, they just crash down somebody's world. First of all, none of our laws are strong enough. That's why ancient laws, rules, traditions, religions, beliefs, those ones really are the only ones that are real laws, the laws of the universe. All these other laws they put in place, it's all fake shit. But if there were strongly held laws, these fucking bitches would be serving some fucking time for breaking down families, as they do. Same with men, petty ass men. Gotta have multiple servings of the cake, disregarding the children and their futures. Yeah. Our world was changed, our lifestyles were changed, and, I'm on the streets. My daughter's on the streets. Fuck that shit. That bitch is gonna get her fucking... Karma's gonna bite that bitch so fucking bad. Anyways, this morning I woke up and I had been traveling, because when I go to sleep I travel one or two places. And it's so weird because I can always see the Huron and the Sioux and the meeting of the two in the middle. And then I know the Huron could see in the future. It's like they'd have their people travel into the future to see what would become of their people. And then they'd travel back and they'd write code. And so I picked up code. That's what I do. And so I wake up and I'm like, I'm going to get coffee at Sacagawea's on the res. And just as I said that to myself, it's like the memory of my travelings came straight through. And I could see in the middle the Huron and the Sioux with these blankets over an open fire making all this smoke. And as the smoke went up into the air, it formed letters, almost like some type of broadcasting system. They had traveled into the future and they saw what happened to the Jews. You know, the United States spends a lot of time to this very day laying people down. And it wasn't too long ago that they engaged in they engaged in warlike efforts to prevent the onset and the genocide that happened to the Jews through Hitler's movements. But as they did that and they allowed their own people to get laid down in the process, they still have not changed their filthy fucking ways. And they're still laying people down. So they are the evil ones, okay? The United States is a bunch of evil fucking crooked bastards. They really don't give two flying fucks about the preservation of life. They do not hold tight on any type of strands related to that Constitution. It's all fucking, it's just a fake entity. Don't buy into it, okay? Don't put your money up against the United States. Don't back this shit, okay? So we have the Huron from the west and the Huron is from the east and the Sioux's from the west, and they meet in the middle and they're over an open fire and they're creating these smoke letterings with these blankets. And the blanket creates these letters that float up into the air. And the name Sacagawea, which is, it's what they said. It was a warning to their people about genocide. The Jews. Sacagawea. It's the evil that they did to them, they did to them, to the natives here, the original people. Genocide. It was a warning. And then I saw this pregnant woman, and it's almost like she got the message and she carried the code. She had a baby girl and she named her Sacagawea. And so the first thing I did after I woke up was, and going through this memory of my dream last night or this morning, because I worked the all-night shift, is I went to Sacagawea's on the res. And I order a cup of coffee because every once in a while I just feel like food and coffee from the res. I just feel like it. Like I just want to be on the res, okay? And so as the girl's making my coffee, I asked the other girl, I said, so do they still call this place Sacagawea's? She said, no. I go, now what do they call it? Smok-ha-haunt-tis. Smok-ha-haunt-tis. So if you do not believe the messages sent from one generation to the next generation in the spiritual hold, in the protection of people from their ancestors, trust me when I say, it is very, very believable. Sacagawea, Smok-ha-haunt-tis.